Check 1, 2. That's lovely. Make sure this isn't anything dire. It's not. All right, we're good. Figure we just go with some summertime vibes. Summertime. I wanna love you, treat you right. I wanna love you every day and every night. We'll share the same room, roof right over our heads. We'll share the shelter of my single bed. Share the same room, job provides the bread. Is this love, is this love, is this love? Oh, that I'm feeling. Is this love, is this love, is this love? Oh, that I'm feeling. Said I'm a wedding and table. So I'll throw my cards on the table. Treat you right. What's up, Gary Lee? I love you every day, every night. Share the same room, roof right over our head. Share the shelter of my single bed. Share the same room, job provides the bread. Is this love, is this love, is this love? Oh, that I'm feeling. Is this love, is this love, is this love? Oh, that I'm feeling. My cards on the table. Thanks. Here we are. Thanks. Thank you, guys. Hey, cheers. That's pretty cool. Oh, man, look at that. Thunderous applause. I appreciate that. That's good times. That's fun. Gary Lee knows that one. I feel like I bring the average age of people who know how to play that appropriately, like, way down. You know what I mean? Thanks, man. I heard it. It was an instrumental It was a jazz quartet. It was on 88.5, and I thought of you the other day because they were covering Wishing Well, and I thought of you immediately. It was a very good cover. It was very tasty, but yeah, it was nice. I wasn't ready for that. I was like, I know this song, and then it hit me, and I was like, oh, it was yeah. Time we got? Where we at? Oh, we got plenty of time. Look at us. Cool. I don't know why, but this song always makes me think about, like, sunny, bright days, springs. Here we got plants. I don't know why, particularly this song makes me want to think about that, but I always feel like it's on the radio every time the weather changes, so hopefully you dig it. Shaking loose together, spotlight's doing something that's been known to change the weather. Kill the fatty calf tonight, so stick around. Gonna hear electric music, silent walls of sound. Oh, Mackenzie and Ryan, have you seen them yet? Oh, but this one's spaced out. Benny and the Jets. Up at the weed and the wonderful Benny, she's a really keen. She's got an electric booth, a massive, no, I bet it in a magazine. Oh, Benny and the Jets. Into the faithless, maybe the blinds, but Benny makes the ageless. Jump about him, build ourselves a love home. Oh, we'll find a pants out in the street to find who's right, who's wrong. Oh, Mackenzie and I, have you seen them yet? Oh, but this one's spaced out. Benny and the Jets. Up at the wheel, wonderful Benny, she's a really keen. She's got electric boots, a boy suit. No, I read it in a magazine. Oh, Benny and the Jets. It's not bad. It's an underrated tune, man. He got 2 5-1s in there. And he's got this one. Going back to the... Oh, that's so nice. It's just... It's great. It's underrated. Underrated for arranging. What else we got? I'm just checking how much time we got. We got plenty of time. Look at that. 6:52. We got to be in bed early tonight, Gary Lee? Day job keeping you up tomorrow? What are we doing? Oh, man. Check 1 2 1 2 1 2. thank you. Hello. Thank you for the applause. I appreciate that. That's wonderful. Look at us. We're packing up. We got people coming through. Things are happening. We got 3 minutes. That's enough for me to do something. We can do something with that. 3 minutes is plenty. That's most tunes. That's most tunes nowadays. You know? I don't know else. What else do we got, man? What else do we got? Let's see here. Plenty of tunes, plenty of songs. Oh man, I haven't done this one in forever. Oldie goodie, we'll leave on this one. It's good to see everybody. It's good to be here. I'm Jeff Alexander. It's cool. I'm doing some tunes because music never hurts an event. I always feel like it's nice. We got good weather. We got good music. We got good people. Got Dennis. What's up, Dennis? Hello. We have Lisette. What's up, Lisette? Hello. It's good. Gary Lee's hiding somewhere. Always a good time. Superstition, writings on the wall. Very superstition, that is bound to fall. 13-year-old baby, broke through looking glad. 7 years of bad love, good things in your past. When you believe in things that you don't understand, well, then you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. Believe in things that you don't understand, well then you suffer. And superstition ain't the way. How we looking, guys? How's it going? We're doing more? I'm gonna do one more. Guess I'm doing one more. Sure. All right. Nobody's kicked me off yet, so we'll hang out for that. Wonderful. Have I stalled enough? Is that enough stalling? Do we need more stalling? You don't know? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, look, I was here from 6:30 to 7, but it seems like everybody's having a great time. So, I mean, I can't, I'm not saying that's me. I think that there's, I feel good. The warm weather is nice. The drinks are cold. That certainly doesn't hurt. Lots of good plants, which I came to learn. I'm all about it. She shut me off. So there you go. That's how you know. Here we are. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for letting me entertain. I appreciate it. Oh, thanks. There we go, and I'm back. Thank you. Oh, what a quick intermission. That was wonderful. We're back. All right. Cool. Wow. Okay, one more. That was nice. It was a good intermission. I got a quick breath. That's it's cool. We're okay. We're just looking up songs. We're just shout them out if you know them. That's cool. Oh, you know what? I'm just playing whatever comes to mind at this point. That's a good way to do it, right, Dennis? Whatever comes to mind. Oh, all right. Oh man, this one always makes me think of warm weather. All right, let's do it. Sometimes I go out by myself, look across the water, think of all the things what you do. In my head I paint a picture. Since you come on home, well my body's been a mess. Miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Come on home, stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, Valerie. You have to go to jail, put your house on up for sale. Did you get a good lawyer? You didn't catch a tan, but find the right man who'll fix it for you. Are you shopping anywhere? Change the color of your hair. Are you busy? Did you ever pay that fine? You were dodging all the time. Are you still dizzy? Since you come on home, well my body's been a mess. Miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over, Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, yeah, Valerie, Valerie. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, Valerie. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? I'm Jeff Alexander. Thanks so much. Hey. No, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I will get out of the way now. Oh, thanks. We'll make it happen anytime. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Falzer Club. Thank you, Jeff, for being amazing. That was Jeff Alexander. So I promise I'll give everyone a chance to look at the plants a little bit later, but we would love to get started. So if you can make your way in, and then during intermission, you can buy more plants. So my name is Ashana. I'm the executive director of the Falzer Club. So we are primarily a music venue, but a big part of our mission is activism and sustainability. So we're really happy to put on this program. We have amazing speakers tonight. I am not one of them. I am always nervous. I have my notes with me because I always get up here and forget everything I want to tell people. If you haven't been to the club before, this used to be a silent movie theater. So its bones are in entertainment and joy, so we try to keep that going here. We're really grateful to see everyone. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about, we call this the Solutionary Living Series. And the word solutionary is really important to me. One, as I was growing up, my dad always told me, you just follow the golden rule, right? And I love that. You do unto others, you want others to do unto you. And it was a woman, Zoe Weil, who runs the Institute for Humane Education. And she's the one who coined the word solutionary. And when I heard it, it resonated very deeply for me. So a solutionary is someone who makes a decision and thinks about the actions in their life by not only considering how they affect you, but how they affect your children, your family, your neighbors, everyone here, animals, plants, the community at large, the earth. And I love that idea. I named my coaching practice after Solutionary, and I named this series after Solutionary. So I think it like takes the golden rule and it makes it inclusive and it expands it to include everyone and everything. And I think the idea is that you do the most good and the least harm. And we can't be perfect in that, But I think if we head in that direction, this world will look very different. So let me see. Let me check to make sure I didn't forget anything else I wanted to tell you. I think right now it's a lot of us feel powerless. I know for me, after January, there was a lot of changes that happened that really had negative impact on my family and personally on many of my friends. And so I'm standing up here because I really hate public speaking, but I really want to try to get the message out and build community and get people to come together. So welcome. We're going to start with Paige Menton in a minute, and then we have Judy and Grace Wicks, who will talk about their beautiful meadow they created. We have amazing people that are selling plants today. And I also just want to say, if you're able, we do these series for free, and there's a lot of activism that I do for free here. But obviously, we have a building to maintain, and we have sound engineers to pay. All of our speakers and everyone participating tonight are donating their time. And if you have the means to donate, you can do a pay it forward and help us do the next one in the series, which will be Eat Your Lawn. And that one should be in May. There's a tip jar on the bar, and all of those tips are really going towards the next event that we will do. So without further ado, I would like to first introduce Paige Menton, who owns and runs and starts the nonprofit Journey Work.
Hello. Oh. Hello. I can only see two of you. So, thousands. Well then, all right. So yes, my name is Paige Menton, and I started my organization Journey Work in 2022, and our hope is to make it as easy as possible for people to add native plants to their landscape. And we were very much inspired by Doug Tallamy, who has written many books. He had a book that came out last week. And he is an entomologist at the University of Delaware. He wrote Nature's Best Hope. This is the young person's version, which I highly recommend. It's a very nice version. And he makes a point that the place that we can control and the way that we can affect great change is in our own yards. So next slide. Which I can generally see. Okay, so that is what inspired us to start Journey Work. And we have been helping people add native plants to their yards. And we do that by having events where we invite volunteers to come. And then the idea is that the volunteers are learning about the native plants and forming community and helping to mitigate the climate crisis, feeling empowered by what they're able to do. The next slide. So this little presentation is going to talk about some things that easy ways that you can get started in your yard. And so starting off here with an image that I took either at Home Depot or Lowe's of plants that are the dominant kind of ground covers for sale. Many of them are invasive species. And they serve a function effectively as ground cover, but they don't offer wildlife value. And the idea that we have in Journey Work is that we're encouraging people to plant native plants because the native plants are increasing the biodiversity. And Doug Tallamy has given fascinating talks about how he did this in his own yard. He had a particular insect he wanted to see, so he planted the plant that insect needed, its host plant, and then voila, the insect appeared. And I know that I've had that experience as well. Next slide. These are some of the critters that came to the property that I take care of once I started planting plants that they could use. In addition to running Journey Work, I am a caretaker at a Quaker meeting, a Gwynedd Friends meeting. And we have a land stewardship plan that I am tasked with enacting. So we have a pollinator garden and we have some rain gardens. And these are all pictures, that these little heart pictures are insects that, and I think there's a salamander, that we have had appear once we planted native plants. And they're good for all the reasons that are listed up there. That they require less watering, which is particularly useful in the periods of increasing drought that we have. They're adapted to the conditions that we have. Next slide. And so I can't see. I can step out. Okay. Thank you. So what can you do? I recently took a certification with Pollinator Partnership and had amazing presentations. And I thought this was a really good point that I had not included in my talks before, which is just to think about what you already have. Having leaf litter, having logs, having organic matter and leaving it and not clearing it away is useful for wildlife. Reducing the use of pesticides is useful for wildlife. Next slide. And then these are some other ideas. Rock piles, when you're clearing brush, just instead of clearing it all away, you can mound it, and then that's creating a potential den. There's a lot of work being done on when you cut back the stems of your plants in the spring. If you leave them, I've heard the latest research now is 8 inches. If you leave them 8 inches tall, then you're creating habitat for native bees. And also leaving bare patches of ground, it's useful for native bees. Yes?
When is it okay to start clearing out the dead stuff from the winter after the...
Well, yeah. So my understanding is and we can also in our Q&A, we can all pitch in on these questions as well. But my understanding is to wait as late as possible, as late as you can, like Mother's Day. Yeah. And then that gives the greatest opportunity for the things that were overwintering to come out from under the leaf litter. Next slide, please. Yes, so then toward creating the habitat that you want, you're looking to create not only the food, the nectar and the pollen that we think of like with pollinator gardens, but also making sure that you have the species of plants that will be host plants. So the plants that different insect species need to lay their eggs and for their caterpillars, etc., to complete their whole life cycle. And again, the protection from pesticides. Go ahead, next slide. So some easy first steps. Mowing your lawn less. So mowing every other week or once a month. Setting your mower height a little higher, 3.5 to 4 inches, can be really nice. Like this flower on the left, the blue flower, is blue-eyed grass. It's a native. It showed up in the burial ground at Gwynedd, and a mower that's at 4 inches goes over it. And so then you still have it for pollinators. It's in the iris family, by the way, which I think is so cool. It's a little tiny iris leaf. You can, if you have flower beds that have like a flower and a bunch of mulch, and then a flower and a bunch of mulch, you can just fill the mulch. It's an aesthetic that we've established in the last 40, 50 years that we can replace with filling the mulch, because that immediately creates more habitat, and it lowers the amount of weeding you have to do to keep the mulch empty. And you can use assertive or aggressive species like golden ragwort, which is the plant in the middle. And John has some here tonight. And mountain mint, blue mist flower, a whitewood aster, different kinds of bee balm, black-eyed Susans. They're all plants that will reseed easily, or they spread by runners. And if you have an area that you don't necessarily want to design, but you know you want it to have native plants, then those are good plants to use. And also they can compete effectively against other plants that you don't want, like mugwort, or I've been working with the golden ragwort against lesser celandine, which is the only thing growing in the grass at Gwynedd right now. So now I'm just going to show you a few little projects toward the idea of what you can do with a very small space. So this is a little garden area around a peace pole at Gwynedd Friends Meeting, where I just got one each of a few different plants and planted them in July 2022. It's a shady area, and you can see the compacted clay soil that I planted them in. And that's what they look like last year. So now, and that's basically what they look like today, except the white flower hasn't started blooming yet. It's a little later than in this picture. And so right now, the only weed I have to pull, there's dandelion right now. But otherwise, it's all filled in. This is a mailbox that had been it was threatened to be overtaken by English ivy that had grown up into it and was eating the mailbox. And so we took the English ivy off and planted a couple, one or two of each from Good Host Plants, actually, in June 2022. And that's what they look like the next year. And now there were some butterfly milkweed in the front that disappeared, and we put some pansies in. But now that's all completely also all filled in with native plants that in this instance are full sun. This is the yard that is right behind that mailbox, and it had been planted 35 years ago with some ornamental plants from a local nursery. And so we took it all out. And then in the next slide, we planted on July 1st. It was like 95 degrees. Don't do that. But we did, and then we watered them, and they started to fill in that season. And then in the next slide, I think it shows, this is close-ups of those plants this past summer. That's butterfly milkweed, monarch host plant, and that's sedge, Cherokee sedge, and that is an ironweed. That's a cultivar that's short. And yeah, that's the yard in August. And that's a hummingbird moth that politely showed itself right as this is the yard of my mother-in-law. And she was just getting out of the car, and I was like, look at that. It was very, she was taking it, native plants was a whole new thing for her, and it was a great gift for that to appear. Go ahead, next slide. This is a shade area that had been full of hostas in an area where the deer routinely ate the hostas to the ground every year for 9 years, I think. And then in the 10th year, I decided, it's my front yard, I decided to dig up the hostas and planted some shade tolerant plants. In the next slide. Whitewood aster, blue mist flower are the plants in the middle. There's also some zigzag goldenrod, which is a goldenrod that works well in the shade, and some other things. There's a mountain mint, and that is a beauty berry that was an impulse buy from the Schuylkill Center. A DIY program that JourneyWork has is Pollinator Palooza, where people can sign up in the spring to take out a 4x12 area of their lawn by putting down cardboard and mulch, and then you let the lawn die. And then in the fall, you pick up 28 plants, and they could be sun plants or shade plants, depending on what you need. For $75, and you get a map that shows you how to lay them out. And I'm sorry, I've been talking to my back to you the whole time. Sorry. And then we offer it again in the fall to plant for the following spring. This is an example of what sheet mulching is like. We did this in the first yard that we planted in. We did that in October. Putting down the cardboard and mulch, and we let it sit there all winter, and then we planted the following April. And that, I think the picture will come up later. This is what the garden design looks like that you get for the sunset for Pollinator Palooza. Next slide. And those are the plants. They are generally, if you're in an area with deer, these are pretty deer resistant. I can't say that for the shade set completely, though. And that this is a shade set. But they're pretty. Next slide. This is, so JourneyWork has a newsletter, comes out once a month, and I encourage people who do Pollinator Palooza to send in pictures of their gardens so we can all, cheer each other along. And this is somebody who got, and we just started doing it last year. So last year was the first spring set. This will be the second. The first year we signed up 46 yards, and the second year we signed up 107, I think. And this person signed up again. So she got 2 sets the first year, and that's what they look like in May when she got them, and that's what they look like in August, I think. This is another enthusiastic person. She got a few extra plants. We had a spontaneous plant sale, and she got a few extra plants. And that's what her area looked like. She did sheet mulching as well in her yard. I apologize. Okay, go ahead. Next. Thank you. And these are more examples of Pollinator Palooza yards. Some folks posted their pictures on Facebook because they were so excited about their flowers. And some more Pollinator Palooza yards. This is another Quaker meeting, the bottom at Norristown Friends meeting. This is a sign that we offered Pollinator Palooza participants, you can get any kind of, or you don't have to get any sign at all. But signage is nice, particularly if you have, if you want to do a garden in the front yard and people are walking by because it's an educational opportunity. So now just journey work. So what we do, next slide, is we organize volunteers to help anybody with a lawn. Next slide. Anyone with a lawn. Next slide. So we can create designs, we can source the plants, and then we create events to have volunteers come to plant the plants. And often people who whose yard it is will also plant alongside. And then we have like snacks and coffee or lemonade, and it's a party. We also have events to remove invasive species. So we're like WSSIC and restoration volunteers for private land. And the idea behind this model is that the volunteers are learning as they help each other. And you can start small and add on each year. And then after you plant, we offer the possibility that you have a not a lawn party. And then people, you invite your friends and neighbors, and then we can show them what we planted and why. Where there was that sheet mulching thing was a few slides ago, that's what it became right there. And this is another part. This is the first yard we planted in. And the first thing that we did, it was over a couple of years because we worked in the front yard and the backyard, is we just filled in their mulch up by the house. And then the second thing was adding this at the street. Go ahead. This is a yard that is very wet, and the person wanted to plant in the wettest area to soak it up and not have to run a lawnmower over it. So she did sheet mulching, and she did 3 species of plants. The golden ragwort that I said competes well with the lesser celandine is the yellow flower, and there's a Juncus effusus. Edges have edges. Then there's another thing, and irises. So it's just 3 species. So these are some yards we planted last year. That we planted in May, and that's it in October. And it was just mulch. This is a shade garden. Again, we planted in May. I think maybe the next slide is, yeah, and that's it in October. And they planted in their backyard. And these are just some statistics. We've planted over 7,000 plants. And I think we're getting to be, oh, yeah, we have a monthly newsletter. And on our website, we have, and some of the books that are here, I have over the table if you want to look at them. And on our website, we have a list of other websites and resources. And I think that's it. Thank you. Yay.
God damn it. Hey, thank you, Paige. Awesome. Really, the work she does is amazing. And then just want to suggest that you share what you learned today with other people, because I was pretty surprised. I started to tell one of the music buyers that I work with about this event, and I was like, oh, we're really convincing people not to have lawns. And he's like, that is crazy. I would protest this. And I'm thinking, he didn't even let me get a word in. He's like, what, are you going to have concrete everywhere? And I was like, no. It's like there's really people who don't know that lawns and concrete are not the only 2 choices, right? So it was just interesting. So go have coffee with a friend next week and tell them. Does anybody need a break, or can we keep going? Because it feels like we started a little late And we can keep going? Okay. Then I would love to have, did you have a question? Oh, love to have Judy Wicks and Grace Wicks up to talk about their meadow. And then you could tell me what you need, if this is comfortable for you, if you want the mic in your hand.
I guess raise it up.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
In your hand?
No, just
Here.
raise it up.
Okay.
No, is it high
Are you
enough?
going to stand up?
Yeah. Okay. Does that work? Can you hear me? Oh, great. Well, it's wonderful to be here at the Falzer Club where many good things happen. I come here as often as I can. Thank you, Shauna, for inviting us. And Paige, I just loved your presentation. It's so inspiring. I started the White Dog Cafe back in 1983, and at that time, I didn't know what sustainability was. I never heard of renewable energy. I didn't know about composting. I didn't know nothing. And as I learned about different sustainable practices, I implemented them at my business, and then tried to encourage other businesses to do that through an organization that I started called the Sustainable Business Network. And the kind of things we did back then was we started a collective compost project. We put solar hot water evacuated tubes on our roof. We switched to 100% renewable energy and so on. And that was all very fulfilling to me. And so then when I sold the White Dog in 2011, I said to my friend, well, now, I'm only one person and I'm not going to have any kind of impact or, influence any longer. And she said, Judy, you've always only been one person. I'm there, oh yeah, that's true. And so I realized that I could demonstrate sustainable practices at my home and hope to influence other homeowners to do likewise. So recently my daughter Grace and I purchased a 2-acre property in Chestnut Hill where I now live. And after living in a very urban environment for 50 years, it was a huge delight to have some space to do things. I once heard this story about an older man who said that when he was younger, he wanted to save the world. And now that he was older, he only wanted to save the pond in his backyard. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm trying to save the creek, in our backyard. So when we moved to our property, it was really all a big grassy lawn going down to a stream. And I had heard about this no-mow movement and how people were transitioning lawns into meadows, which was an inspiration to me. And I was also very annoyed by the sound of lawnmowers. Living in Center City in West Philly for so long, I never heard of a lawnmower, and boy, are they annoying. And every Thursday, my neighbor's lawnmower goes on. I thought, I do not want to have that sound going on. So I was very inspired, not to mow my lawn. And we moved there August 1st of last year, so it'll be 2 years this August, and we've never mowed the lawn. And it's just, keeps growing. For wildlife, lawns are deserts. They're lifeless deserts. And these tidy manicured lawns where the trees and bushes are planted far apart from each other with nothing in between, very regimented and controlled. It's not really a sustainable environment, for life. In sustainable landscaping, yards are planted with a diversity of native plants growing together in the same, shared space, which creates the habitat for pollinating insects and other creatures. And here, plants thrive year after year. So lawns require chemicals, which for us would wash down into the creek at the bottom of our property. And that creek leads to the Swan Pond at the Morris Arboretum. So we want to make sure that spring-fed creek stays clean. Lawns also require mowing, and 1 hour of mowing pollutes as much as driving 650 miles, besides making all that racket. The other thing is about leaves. I haven't had to rake leaves since I've been there. And the leaves left on the ground actually are a very good thing for the environment. They replenish the soil and they provide a habitat for wintering insects and amphibians and other creatures. So you don't have to convert your whole lawn to a meadow if you don't choose to. You can do a part of it and have a lawn in certain sections. Someone described this as being having a lawn like a throw rug as opposed to wall-to-wall carpeting. And so we have a throw rug lawn, for instance.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Julie.
Of our property that's leveled out, and that's where we have our parties. And so we grew grass there because grass, turf endures a lot of trampling. So that's where we play badminton or croquet or whatever and dance and whatnot. So I'm not saying that turf is never good. And also it's really good for paths to be, through the meadow to be grass, to be manicured grass. The other thing about mentioning the Party Plateau, I wanted to say that another environmentally desirable thing is not to travel, because traveling, especially airplanes, it creates so much carbons. And we can really, I believe, have more fun at home by having parties with our neighbors and getting to know each other and build relationships in our community than going off to some far away place. So that's what we are doing at what we call it the Norwood Homestead, because we're on Norwood Avenue, so we call it the Norwood Homestead. And part of our vision for the Norwood Homestead is to be a place where we invite our friends and family to come and celebrate and have parties. Like for Easter, we had 140 people, all outside in the emerging meadow and along the trails and so on. We had Easter egg hunts and badminton and hammocks and all that kind of stuff. So it's just lots of fun. It's more fun to stay at home. I'm not traveling at all now because I'm putting all my money, into my property where I can enjoy it, with my friends and family. But you might get in not mowing your lawn, you might get some pushback from your neighbors because, in our culture, a lawn is a representation of prosperity. And, if you don't have a lawn, it might imply that you're a lazy, good for nothing person, that is too careless, to mow their lawn. So we have to change that lifestyle, that life is more important than lifestyle, and actually ultimately change our lifestyle to be in keeping with what's good for life, for all of life, for natural life and our own. So for all of us, addressing climate change and the heartbreaking deterioration of our environment, it can be really overwhelming. But there's so much we can do just by creating habitat in our own lawn, in our own backyards. I love this book. Paige mentioned this author, Douglas Tallamy, and this is another book of his, Nature's Best Hope, and I highly recommend it. We have a resource list down here. She can get later where it's listed, but he only lives over in Delaware, and I hope to have him speak at the homestead sometime. But in his book, he claims that if only half the lawns in our country were replaced with native plants, we would create the equivalent of a 20 million acre national park, 9 times bigger than Yellowstone. So he calls this, if we all did this, even if only half of us changed our lawns into an ecosystem, and between them and the parks and open spaces that we have, it would create enough space, which he calls excuse me, so that popcorn sticks in my throat. That he calls it a homegrown national park. So, and the thing about it is that, excuse me, that popcorn gets me every time, even if I flush it down with beer. Anyway, this can all be accomplished fairly quickly, and we don't have to have a degree of training as citizens, to do this work. And it's a minimal expense, to turn our lawn into an ecosystem. So collectively, we can transform an ecological wasteland, which is what lawns are really, or they're wastelands, into a viable habitat and a functional ecosystem. So I'm really longing to hear the crickets in our backyard. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I know back at my house in Center City, I did a tiny little roof garden. And all of a sudden, I heard a cricket in my roof garden. It was like this little 3x3 rooftop green roof. And to hear that cricket, I thought, oh my God, a cricket, in the city. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to in having this meadow. I already saw a pair of fox out in our emerging meadow. I can't wait to hear the crickets in the meadow. And I hope all of you will have that kind of a thrill in your own backyard. And now I want to turn it over to my daughter, Grace. Are the people who did our landscaping work for transitioning to a meadow were not able to come tonight, but they sent us a PowerPoint with a voice overlay, which we'll show after Grace's presentation. So thanks for your attention, and here's Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace, and I have the good fortune of being Judy's daughter. A little background about me is I've actually been a professional gardener for 25 years, which is kind of crazy. I graduated college, got a job with my degree, and I was working inside, and I just thought, I'm gonna die if I spend all day inside every day. So I thought, I'm 22 years old. I don't want to wait the rest of my life to do what I really want to do. I just want to garden. So I got an entry-level job working in kind of high-end residential horticulture. And I started at the bottom and worked my way up in that company. I learned a lot from very experienced gardeners around, like, we didn't mow or anything, but former horticulture and pruning and like how to landscape very nicely. But I found that to be, I wanted to do something more. Like after a while, after some years, I kind of learned what I could learn. And I thought, I really like to grow food. That would be kind of more meaningful use of my skills in growing. And so I called up an organic farmer who delivered to my mom's restaurant, and I asked him if I could come out. And so I lived and worked on that farm in Lancaster County. And during that time, I gained a greater appreciation for farmers than I even had before. And I realized that I don't think I want to be one, not out in the country anyhow. I wanted to bring together my interests in, I love Philly, I love people, I love design, I love food, I love nature, and I tried to weave all those interests together. And I started a company called Graceful Gardens. And I ran that business for over 10 years in Center City. It started just me on my bicycle cart, and the whole concept was to coach people, to help people who live in the city and don't have access and space, and they might only have a small space and containers that they can grow in, to support them in growing food themselves. Maybe I plant some window boxes or some native trees. And it took off. It took off in a direction I didn't anticipate. And people really liked the way it looked and wanted me to garden for them. So anyway, it turned into a kind of big company, 10 staff people and 3 different teams. And it was mostly ornamental. But I learned a lot about container gardening and about building a business. And so then I took a break, and while Graceful Gardens was really green in a lot of ways, we worked hard as a company to do things in the best way we knew how, buying from local suppliers, practicing organic gardening techniques, all sorts of stuff. But just with everything going on in the world, it just didn't feel like enough. Like, no, we really, really need to make more dramatic change than I was able to do through that business. So anyway, then my mom moved to, by good fortune, came across a property in Chestnut Hill, which is where I was living. And it's an amazing opportunity to steward this land. It's 2 acres with a creek at the bottom. And the first thing we did was stop mowing. And so my idea, kind of naively, was just to see what happens. We're like, okay, we'll just stop mowing and, work with what comes up and what happens. And then I talked more to like other gardeners and people like Julia Miles, who own Backyard Biome. Their presentation will show later. And the opinion was very much, you need to take out all the invasives. You have to take everything out and then start over. And so we're trying one patch of the property is their technique, which they'll get into details there. And we have lots of other projects going on at the homestead, but I'm kind of curious of how many of you are gardeners? Like trying gardening? Trying gardening? Okay. And then I'm also curious as to what you're most interested in learning tonight. Like, are you interested in like technical tips of like what plants, how to creating native habitat, why go native, or the story of experimentation, like the experiment my mom and I are doing at the homestead. So I guess we'll get into that in the Q&A. So what's wrong with lawns? Lawns are a monoculture. They don't absorb much rainwater. I think it's only 10% gets absorbed, and the rest just runs off. It doesn't provide habitat for birds, bees, and other pollinators. It's low function in terms of the space. It's pretty dead space. I mean, it's green, but it requires high inputs of chemical fertilization, herbicides that kill broadleaf evergreen plants, and then all that ends up in the water supply, not to mention all the air pollution and sound pollution from the mowers. So anyhow, we have a pretty amazing opportunity at the homestead. We have the Meadow Project, but then I've also been working with the Philadelphia Orchard Project. Has anyone heard of them? Yeah, they're doing really great work. They have a greenhouse down in University City at the Woodland Cemetery, where they're practicing growing Zone 8 plants in an unheated hoop house. And so they're really working on cultivating a stock of plants that are adapted to this climate and seeing how we can play with the change. We're losing some plants, like, rhododendrons aren't doing as well in our environment anymore because it's colder. What's that? Oh, it's because they like it colder. They like it colder. We're getting too warm for them. But then other species are more appropriate for this area. And anyway, so they're doing that, and their approach is to create a food forest. So you mimic the forest in the way that they have like the overstory trees, then you have the understory trees, then you've got your shrubs, then you have your perennial layer, you've got ground covers, you've got vines. And so the way that they design and plant their orchards is to be food forests, and to mimic nature in the design of them. One project I'm helping them with is at the Wissahickon Environmental Center. There's a demonstration garden that was started by the Philadelphia Orchard Project years ago. And there's currently a group of volunteers that are helping to maintain it. And we're actually transitioning it to be a native edible plant demonstration site. So to show visitors to the Wissahickon who walk by what you can do with native plants, how that could work in your garden, and also be kind of self-guided in terms of people reading educational signs and learning about the plants. And so that's another exciting thing that's happening. And one big thing is just like that I'm coming to in my journey as a gardener of what is a weed? What's a weed? It's a plant that you don't want where it is, essentially. So I'm trying to practice not weeding anything if I don't know what it is. If I don't know what it is, why am I going to weed out everything that's not what was planted? Why don't I learn about that, see how it behaves, see how it's used, and then kind of learn the hard way as to whether I should have pulled that or not. But I think we really need to change our aesthetics, and that's one of the things I'm hoping to be able to evolve gardening practice into is go back to working commercially as a gardener, while integrating some of the things I'm learning about native plants and really creating habitat, incorporating wood. Like one of the things we do at the homestead, we planted all these baby fruit trees. We have a little food forest going on. So we have pawpaw trees as the upper canopy. We have hazelnuts as our shrub layer. We've got elderberry along the creek, black raspberries, native black raspberries. Anyhow, there's all sorts of things. But instead of like clearing the debris and the leaves and stuff, I took the logs and I sawed them up, like any branches that fell down, and I built like half circles around the trees, like the baby trees, because our properties is on a slope. So I built half circles just of woven sticks and debris I found around the trees, so that'll catch the water coming downhill. And then I raked the leaves into that. And the idea is that it will help catch water and help hold it there. It create habitat. Hopefully little creatures would hang out in the sticks and leaves, and to really build from that tree out. So I think that's pretty much what I had to say. If you want to be on our homestead, because we hope to be a place, the homestead can be a place of learning and community building. So if you're interested in future events we're doing or learning more about the homestead, you can sign up here. And then I made like a really quick sheet of like great resources along with Good Host Plants. Also, there's a Land Health Institute in Parkside, and they've started a native plant nursery, and they do a lot of programs and education around that. West Mountain Area Neighbors is really active. That's wman.net, and they have an eco lab out of the Carpenter Lane train station, like Friday night happy hour kind of gardening thing, and they have a pollinator garden and food gardens there. And then the Wild Ones of Southeastern Pennsylvania have a lot of great events and resources. Anyway, so there's some handouts here. You can take a picture or take a paper. And thank you very much.
Do you want to introduce the film that we're going to see? Can you do it on the mic? Because we're recording it for detail.
Okay, so the presentation that's about to roll was made by Julie Britton and Miles Christensen. Their company is Backyard Biome, Home Biome, and their pamphlet and card are at the table in the front of the building. And they made this presentation. I think Julie's voice is overlaid on it. So, and I think they'll show some pictures of what they did at the homestead. So, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Julie. I'm so sorry I can't be present tonight with you all. I am currently enrolled in the PA Naturalist class, and it meets every Tuesday night. But I really want to thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you, Falzer Club, for having us, Judy for inviting us. Hopefully in our short video, we can tell you a little bit about the company and offer some insight to establishing a native meadow or any garden at your home. So firstly, a biome. That represents the naturally occurring plant community based off the climate and ecoregion. And at Backyard Biome Design, we aim to create native gardens that are resilient and respond to the needs of our environment. So our practices are aimed to create sustainable solutions that decrease the negative impacts in our environment and increase the value invested in our landscape. We service Philadelphia and the greater area, and we really have an education-focused approach. So we offer free consultations and a variety of services, native plant landscape design and install in the ground. We also do city rooftop gardens, window boxes. We can create management plans for homeowners, doing maintenance or land stewardship of existing gardens, and we're just getting into native plant sales. It's important to us to stress that your impact on the ecosystem, no matter how big or small, can be a net positive. So there are over 40 million acres of lawn in the US. And if half of that land were used for native plants, it would be the size of all of our federally preserved lands combined. Agriculture and urbanization have big effects on our natural habitats and lead to a decline in biodiversity. Lawns have a negative impact on the environment. They consume so much water and they create air pollution every time you mow. So replacing those lawns with just any old plant isn't the way we get to restoring our biodiversity. The plants need to be from our specific ecoregion in order to support our local populations of insects. Although it's probably upsetting when insects eat your plants, it's actually contributing to the greater food web. Ornamentals, on the other hand, they're selected for their vibrant colors and the pest-free qualities, but these disease-resistant plants have no local predators, and that allows them to become invasive. Our local insects rarely will get vital nutrients from those ornamentals, and in fact can sometimes confuse those ornamentals for natives and then have toxic effects. This then displaces native plants when you plant so many ornamentals, and it disrupts the entire ecosystem. Native insects need native plants to thrive, and animals and birds need those insects. So why do we choose natives? We choose natives to restore our habitat, increase biodiversity in our specific ecoregion. We live in the northern Piedmont area, so even planting plants from Texas doesn't have the same benefits for our Pennsylvania insects. Okay, so now maybe I inspired you or scared you into replacing your lawn or ornamentals with native plants. Let's talk about how we do that using Judy's home as an example. So this photo shows Judy's backyard, which was dominated by grass and underutilized space. The red circle indicates where the meadow will develop. And a meadow just refers to plant communities dominated by herbaceous species. It can have some woody vegetation, but you don't want it dominating like the trees in a forest. A meadow is defined by its soil type, the amount of light, and the amount of water it receives. So there are many steps and methods. These are the 5 main steps for turning any land into a garden. The first and most important is site analysis. Each plot of land can have different conditions that relate to different plants. You want to consider the slope, soil texture, and any root competition. Then you can select particular plants based on those conditions, as well as considering species that complement all niches in space, time, and function. Space meaning choosing plants to fill each level of the garden, the canopy, the understory, and the ground layer. And then time meaning when they will germinate, either in the cool season or warm season, and also succession, which plants live. They don't all last the same amount of time. And then function meaning how they affect the soil health, provide overall habitat, and food sources. Once you've considered all that, you can start the site prep. Pre-treatment of a site is critical to allow for proper germination and a successful meadow. There are many methods used to rid a site of noxious weeds. You can try solarization, herbicidal treatments, grubbing, mulching, tilling. We'll go over our preferred method in another slide. And then installation. Sowing native seeds can be done in many seasons. Fall and winter seedings allow for the seeds to naturally stratify. That's the breaking of seed dormancy. And we'll talk more about our installation process as well. And then maintenance, I just wanted to say, just have proper expectations of what a first-year meadow will look like. It sometimes is disappointing, but don't be too quick to judge. Allow things to develop. Native plants are busy doing a lot of work in the soil year one, so the first things to show up may not be what you planted, but natives will outcompete annual weeds over time. And then maturation. Native plants each have different life expectancies, and selecting a variety will allow for an ever-changing plant palette. Having at least 3 species in bloom at all time from mid-spring through late summer is a sign of a successful, well-balanced native meadow. So a little deeper about the process. The first step we always do is site analysis is a soil test. We want to understand the soil conditions. That makes it easier for us to select the right plants for our meadow. Penn State University offers an affordable soil kit that you can just access online. You'll see Judy's homestead results on the right. It's a lot of numbers, but we're really just concerned with 3 key results: the soil nutrient levels, pH, and organic matter percentage. And the first circle shows our nutrient levels. So contrary to vegetable gardening, native plants do not desire highly nutritious soil. In fact, we want our soil to start off with below optimum nutrient levels. Many plant species thrive, native plant species thrive in these poor quality soils, and the adverse effects of fertilizers and overusing really has adverse effects. Sorry. Native plants are already adapted to our climate, rainfall, and soil, and most agriculture crops and ornamentals are from other places that don't grow in the same condition. That's why I use fertilizers and things. And then the smaller to the left circled area is our pH level, and that tells us which plants will thrive in these conditions. And without getting too technical, a 4.7 is a moderate number and indicates most plants will do well. The other circle shows our organic matter percentage, and this tells us the percentage of microbes at work decaying organic matter in the location. A 4.5% shows us not a lot of leaf litter has been broken down, which is pretty typical for a well-raked lawn. But over time, the native plants will decompose organically, and it'll improve the water holding capacity and structure of the soil. In other garden areas, we possibly add composted leaf litter mulch to increase the health of the soil, but we don't want to block out too much sunlight from the germinating seeds. So once we've analyzed the soil and the other conditions of the site, we can start hand selecting what we want to plant. So many prepackaged seeds mixes will not perfectly fit one landscape condition. So this is the design of our space with all of our plants listed where they've been planted. And for an expedited meadow, we selected live plants in larger containerized sizes, as well as plug sizes. And then we did 3 different seed mixes derived primarily from the Piedmont ecoregion, which we love. You'll notice I've circled the 3 distinct seed mixes, and they're represented by green, orange, and purple on the drawing. And these are organized by height for different areas to fill each niche in the meadow. And we choose each seed in individual quantities, which is ideal as they all germinate in different ways and throughout different times and seasons. And then site preparation. There are many considerations for selecting the right method to prepare your site depending on the size, the slope. We prefer to remove or grub the top layer of soil with a sod cutter. This method cuts back on labor and time and uses no plastic or herbicide to kill the lawn. Other methods can be used, but they all have their pros and cons. Solarization with plastic creates a lot of waste and has to sit over a long period of time to fully remove weeds. Some people choose to mulch with cardboard, but that only eliminates a portion of the weeds. And then tilling the soil, sometimes it exposes more weeds than it actually even eliminates. For bigger areas, people use herbicide treatment, but if you just have a small backyard, it really does affect pollinators and can leach into the groundwater. So the method we use, sod cutting, it's just a small gas-powered machine, and it cuts the lawn away. You can see in the second picture, we kind of are able to roll it up like a carpet. It does have it has some drawbacks, such as physically relocating the lawn we remove. For Judy's garden, we were lucky enough to create a compost pile to raise earth in another portion of our property. And once we remove this top layer of lawn, we allow that exposed earth to sit untouched and show us what weed seeds exist. For late fall planting, we removed as many weeds that appeared, but we will face new weeds in other seasons. And I don't have a great photo, but it's worth noting. For fall seeding on a slope, we want to reduce the risk of erosion. So we laid down jute matting across the entire exposed earth, and that holds the seeds in and will limit runoff from snow and rain. So after the site's prepared, we get to plant. And we start with bigger shrubs, larger grasses, and then we put in the smaller perennials. And finally, we sow the seeds in the distinct zones from the drawing. We fill a bucket with equal parts sand, water, and seed, and we walk through the defined areas, distributing each seed mix. And we use an annual rye crop throughout the whole meadow to act as a cover crop while the seeds are germinating. So that might be the first seed to appear, and later this season we'll be removing their seed heads to allow natives to take up a little more space. And you'll notice the center of the meadow is covered with a yellow, it's a sterile straw material, and this is going to be our light mulch. We have mulched the perimeter with a really nice triple shredded mulch, and this just kind of defines the bed, hopefully limits some grass seed from creeping its way into the bed and other undesirables. The seeds within the meadow will lay dormant for the winter, and they'll naturally stratify as the weather changes. This photo was taken a few weeks ago, and you may be saying, that's like a really poor job, look at all that grass, but what you're seeing is spring onion, and that'll die back within a few weeks, so we don't want to disturb the seeds that are germinating under that. A close-up view shows the seeds are germinating on the bare earth up through the jute matting and the easy straw. So this meadow is still in a very early stage. We're really excited to watch it grow over the years, and we will be documenting. If you're interested, please connect with us via our website. You can scan the QR code to see some updates on the meadow. Thank you so much for attending tonight's series. We really are looking forward to connecting in person. So I just wanted to let you know we'll be at the East Falls Farmers Market this year, as well as the Pretzel Park Farmers Market in Roxborough. We'll be selling our native plants, all from our ecoregion, and they're listed on our website. And we're also just wanting to connect, offer free consultations, however we can help. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right. Can't you wait to go home and garden? We're going to have just a really brief break while we get set up with everyone here for Q&A. We are going to have a little talk from Lizette, who owns Thundermug. She's going to talk about raising bees in Germantown. John Janik is here from Good Host Plants. He has plants for sale. And I also have, because I've been to his, he has a little Airbnb, which is absolutely delightful. And I was there with clients, and I got to see his beautiful garden. So I have a few photos that I want to share from that, so you can see alternatives. And then I have a couple from, what I love about this is you can do a huge project like Judy and Grace are taking on, and you can also put a pollinator in a pot and be amazed at bees that come into East Falls, right? I mean, and my yard is very tiny, and Jacqueline's my neighbor. She was my inspiration because we have a twin, and she had all of these beautiful plants. And I just had this straight grass that had this slope, and I thought, I am going to die trying to mow this slope. And I had a little push mower, and still my son sent it one time, and he tripped, and the mower went over the edge through the street and flipped over at the curb. And I was just like, thank God he was okay. We didn't hit a car or any people. But I was like, I don't want to mow this hill. So I'll show you pictures after our little break of what we're doing. So I always look at Jacqueline for my little inspiration, and definitely we transform my lawn. So take a brief break and we'll come back for Q&A.
Killed the king to make my name. I cut my chains and stole a ring, your wedding ring. I learned to sing To sing your name I learned to fly, and cut my wings for you to fly. Anywhere you go in this wild life, every dream I sold, every lie I told, just to be with you. I want my soul 1,000 miles to see your face, flecks of gold in your eyes, until wind blows. The turquoise glows in your hearts, we're neon stars in the dark. Anywhere you go in this wild life, every dream I sold, every lie I told, just to be with you in this wild life. This wild life. Anywhere you go in this wild world, every dream I sold, every lie I told, just to be with you. Anywhere you go in this wild life, every dream I sold, every lie I told, just to be with you. Every dream I sold, every lie I told, just to be with you in this wild life. Couldn't sleep the night you took my hand and pulled me closer. When I felt your arms around my neck, the sun came up and followed us till the day was over. I walked home the tallest kid. Always find a way to spin my head in circles. I spend the day retracing every step. Sorry for the way I've hid under the surface. Is that an apology or just a misdirection? Don't look back in vain. I will be there.
Territory warmth of your hand, your
love was like water to me. I was so afraid that they would come take it from me. I was so afraid that they would come take it from me. Don't look back in vain. I will be there. All that joy in your name. Let them see.
An intersection in your college town with your name on it, with your name on it. You always said you couldn't wait to tear it down. I should have been honest and called you out on it. 'Cause I see signs from God and I tread lightly on the wire. You see him in the water and you try to start a fire. Burn bridges east of Atlanta. Well, no wonder you lost manna. I'm in love with someone new, and I'm going to Savannah. There is a bar you're not allowed in on Bellevue, a bloody-faced comet. You were a time bomb, man. You swore you'd raise our kids to end up just like you. Well, you're a false prophet, and that's a goddamn promise. I see signs from God and I tread lightly on the wire. You see him in the water and you try to start a fire. Burn bridges east of Atlanta. Well, no wonder you lost manna. I'm in love with someone new, and I'm going to Savannah. I hear it's haunted with the greatest writers ever lived, just where you used to walk. At 21, you used to call those women bitches, didn't you? It rolled off sweet like honeydew. But you will never know how to talk to ghosts. I see signs from God. Tread lightly on the wire. You see him in the water and you try to start a fire. Burn bridges east of Atlanta. You lost me, so you lost manna. I'm in love with someone new, and I'm going to Savannah. Going to Savannah. Going to Savannah. Going to Savannah.
Man comes in a Cadillac, All your money won't break your back. Working hard for a couple stacks, now it's all but gone. Big brother got a wicked way, coming round when there's bills to pay. Understand, can't catch a break, tell me what went wrong. We got to fight, we got to rectify, we got to lose our minds, let them blood run cold. We got to fight, I'm talking day and night. We got to lose our minds, let them blood run cold. Cold-blooded with a heart of gold, throwing this for your own soul. Never wrong, then you never know. Can we take control? We got to fight, we got to rectify, we got to lose our minds, let them blood run cold. We got to fight, I'm talking day and night. We got to lose our minds, let them blood run cold.
Thank you. I enjoyed your presentation.
Okay, we're going to try to gather back again for some good Q&A and for a little backyard bee info. Okay. Barb, if you can show the first slide. So, Lizette, who you know your photos. Okay, you have to be on the mic though. So, Lizette owns Thunder Mug, and we were chatting, and then she's like, "Oh, I have bees." And I was like, "You have bees?" She's like, "Yeah, I have bees in Germantown." So this is just an example. She can tell you about it, but the piece that was the most interesting for me, when she was like, once you register that you have bees, there's, what is it? Is it a 1.5 mile radius?
Yeah. Is it on? Yeah. Once you register your apiary, or as I have, because my last name is Appy, mine is called the apiary. The city cannot spray pesticides in a 1.5 mile radius from where your apiary is. So where I live, everyone 1.5 mile radius from me, it's kind of like you aren't getting those dangerous pesticides being sprayed in the neighborhood. So that's one benefit for the neighborhood that the bees take care of, and me having an apiary. Another thing is, if you come in my neighborhood or around my house, you'll see them, all the bees are out. There's a lot of them, and they're pollinating. So you will actively see them, and there is a natural park. A friend of mine, she has a natural park that they turned, it was a building that was torn down, so it's kind of like a prairie. So they build like a natural prairie there, and you'll just see, the bees. And it's literally, I have one of the very few alleys in Philly, so they just literally come down the alleyway, and they just have all these natural habitat flowers that they feed off of. So it's really beneficial for the neighborhood to actually keep bees, and it's really easy. And I was telling people that, my backyard is literally 5 by 10. And I'd always had an interest in beekeeping. And so I took some beekeeping classes, and but for me, I'm not one of those people that can just read a book and then, okay, I can go out and execute. I was at this adorable little shop. I don't remember the name of it, but it is in Chestnut Hill. And this woman was carrying honey. And I said, oh, and she's like, it's local honey, so local. The guy that does the honey, he's my neighbor. He's right down the street. And I just looked at her and I said, would he take on an apprentice? Because she was telling me he bee kept for years. And I was like, would he take on an apprentice? And so this elderly curmudgeon-y man calls me one day 2 months later, and I completely forgot about it. And he was like, so you want to learn how to keep bees? I was like, yes, I do. And so he mentored me, which was really wonderful. So for someone like me, you know, I really enjoyed having a mentor. If you can, you know, go to the class, by all means do that too, but you can beekeep anywhere. And, you know, over the years, I heard about people beekeeping on top of rooftops and things like that. And I was like, well, if people can do it on a rooftop, I can definitely do it in my backyard. So I took classes, I went and I got, you know, it's called a Langstroth hive. So right there, what you're seeing are just where the bees stay, and then it's called a super, and that's where they go up and they make the honey. You exclude the queen, so the queen only stays between those two. That right there is, I was taking off the lid so I could check on the hive. You can see one of the frames is missing, and you can actually see I pulled it out. And that's, you know, honey, and those are all mature bees, because bees, they do come as babies and they're really tiny. But those are all mature bees, and they are producing honey. And they produce honey a couple times, once in the dead of summer, so like in August when it's really hot, and then you can also get something in like October, September, and then after, when fall hits and you're going into winter, you're going to want to winterize your hives. But it's very easy. Bees live out in the wild. I just provided a home for them. And I like to get honey. So does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Oh, no, I don't need. Ooh. Okay. A couple of questions then. First of all, did your neighbors complain that there were lots of bugs around? Because I also live in a very urban neighborhood, and I would love to do this, but I'm a little concerned that there might be people that freak out with all the bugs.
The funny thing is, I live in a row home. My next door neighbor, she has small children. So they were about 6 when I started it, and now they're older. But she was like, I saw you were keeping bees in back. My kids, you know, they got stung a couple of times. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I've been keeping bees for like 4 years. So the first year I gave her a jar of honey. Every year since, she's like, so when are we going to have honey? And so they kind of, so they all now know. I tried to keep it a secret the first year, you know, and my sister was like, that's not quite neighborly of you. I was like, well, I didn't want to make a panic for anyone. So you can handle your neighbors how you see fit if you know them. I had only lived in my house for a year, so I really didn't know them. Now I know my neighbors, and, you know, they love getting the honey more than anything. Right, and the kids know that I have bees, and so they think it's really cool now. And I take them in the back, and I put some heavy gear on them, and, you know, I kind of show them, what the frame looks like that's all filled with honey. They've seen me extracted with the extractor. So it's turned into sort of a neighborhood, sort of like collective, like, what's she doing with those bees?
Excellent. Okay, good. Okay, I don't want to hog this, but I do have another question. Where did you do your classes?
Philadelphia Beekeeping Society. They do classes. I also recommend Beekeeping for Dummies is a really good resource. There's several books on beekeeping as well, so many videos, but I found that for me, hearing it in a class setting, being able to ask questions, that really worked for me because, and them showing videos and things of how things should look. Bees are susceptible to getting mites and things like that you have to kind of guard against. So I found classes helpful, but what was also really helpful too is like I said, I really felt like I needed a mentor. But in the beekeeping community, that should be really easy to find, because one thing people in the beekeeping community do, they love talking to one another. And so I'm sure it'd be very easy for you to find a mentor.
And I can tell you one of your neighbors that won't complain, okay? So the other thing, and I don't know very much about bees, but we had, if you ever see swarms of bees, like my kids pointed out last year, that they're like, oh, what is this? Bugs are everywhere. And then we realized they were bees, and we saw them swarming in our front yard, and then we couldn't see any of them. And then we went out, and our entire bush was just covered in bees. And I knew enough to call, like, I think I just looked up like beekeepers in Mount Airy. And I might have met your same curmudgeon, because, this guy, he's like, I'll be right out. Don't touch anything. And this guy comes out, and he's just staring at my bush, and they're everywhere, and he's just looking at it, and he shakes it. He has nothing, like no protection. He shakes it, and he reaches his hand in, and he goes, I got the queen. And he just put the queen inside his bee case, which he brought with him, and then asked if he could just leave it there overnight. And I'm like, sure. And all of the bees just followed the queen right into the hive. So it was really a fun thing to watch.
Well, when they swarm, they've had movies about, a bee swarm. That's actually, they're very docile. It's a heavy kind of mating time for them. And when they swarm, they were actually probably leaving a location and finding a new home for themselves, which happened to be in your bush. But they're very, very docile when they're actually in the swarm. So he was probably pretty okay. And I will say one thing about bees. I haven't gotten to that level of where I can just go into a hive. I'm not afraid sometimes I'll just go tend to the hive, and I really will have nothing on, but you can't be nervous, because they will sense if you're nervous and they will attack. But the more used to beekeeping and the more used to bees that you get, you can, there's that one lady with the video from Texas, and she's like, she goes and she gets all of these bees from, like, people find them in their roofs and stuff, and she literally has nothing on her hands, and she's like putting her hands in the hive and stuff. That's because she's very calm. So if I'm calm, I can go out there with very little on. I'll wear long sleeves, and I can tend to the hive really quickly without them feeling agitated. Best time to attend to the hive is when it's cooler. So in the mornings, like, I'll never tend to my hive when it's like blazing in the afternoon. I do it first thing in the morning. Like that picture right there, it's very warm in the hive. So they're kind of starting to do something that's called bearding. And so a lot of the bees will come out of the hive to keep cool, the rest of the hive cool, because the queen does not leave the hive. She will stay in the middle of the hive. So in order to cool off and to keep the hive cooler, they're going to start bearding. And sometimes I've come out and my whole front of my hive is just like full, just, you can't even put your finger in there. There's no white. It's just bees just bearding, and they're keeping the hive cool.
It's very cool. I think we have 2 more pictures, Barb.
Oh yeah, that's harvesting the honeycomb, and that's when we first pulled it. That's when I first pulled it out, and that's a picture of when I'm going to take it. That's full of honey. That's nothing but raw honey, and I'm going to take it out and I'm going to extract it with I have a manual extractor, which I'm thinking of upgrading and getting an electric extractor.
So the next photos, and then I just want to show these really quickly, and then you can ask questions to anyone on the panel. This is John from Good Host Plants. This is his yard, and I just was able to, like, the whole road going up to his house is like a little curved road, which is in the next slide. He really has a meadow, and it's a meadow on either side. And then he has a little pond, and he has a living roof. I don't have a picture of that, but it was awesome. So you can show the next one. And then, I mean, there's just, it's like life is everywhere. The left one has a pond. And then the next one, that's more of his beautiful backyard. And then I know I have one, I think, of his driveway. Yeah, so the driveway coming up, all of that on both sides is all native plants. And really, it's a mini meadow. So, John, you can talk about it, but I just love the idea that there's so many different varieties that we can do with our spaces.
Yeah, I mean, that driveway strip there. So we moved into this place in 2020, and oh yes, yeah. So we moved here in 2020. It's in West Mount Airy. On the left, you see a cup plant that gets about 8 feet tall. And here, yeah, this driveway strip, when we moved in, it was all just crabgrass. It's really dry, gravelly soil. And when we were moving from our last house, I just grabbed a bunch of things out of the ground to just transplant them, see what would grow there. It's like really, really full sun. But yeah, I just started adding to it over the years and to see what could handle that heat, because I don't have a hose that could reach that far. It's like 150 feet away from our house. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look so good when we get like a month-long drought, but it always bounces back. So yeah.
I don't know whether there's any more, Judy. Oh, Barb. Then the next one, if you go past it. This is my house. So this is the slope that I was talking about. I had no idea what I was doing. I called Paige a million times to ask her for advice. But the slope, this was the first year with plants, and then this is the second year. So it's really amazing how quickly it can happen. And the next one. And then I don't know what I'm doing. I just keep planting vegetables. And sometimes they grow and sometimes they die, and I don't know why. So, sometimes there's an investigation you can do with pH and whatever. I don't know any of that. I just like, whoa, I want cucumbers, and I plant them. And then I see what happens, and I see if I get cucumbers. I didn't. But I did get a lot of Asian eggplant, and tons of tomatoes are on the left, and basil. And the little blob of green that you see is, I raise worms. So really, I'm a worm gardener. And the worms are in there, all my compost goes in there, and the soil is amazing. So there's a million methods to do this. Does anyone have questions for anyone on the panel?
Howdy. Lizette, my question is for you. In the pictures, I didn't notice like a welcome mat or anything like that. How the heck do you get the bees from the wild to the box?
Oh, well, there are several companies throughout the United States that specialize in it's called a nuke, and it's like 5,000 bees and then a queen. And so so you get that nuke, and then you just literally sit and you dump the bees into your beehive, your structure for them. So that's where they come from. And as Ashana was saying, they follow that queen. So the queen it's vital that you get her inside of that structure and not let her fly away, because they will follow that queen. Like, you get a nuke and it's got about 5,000 or 10,000 bees in there, but by hot summer, it's literally 50 to 70,000 bees. So that whole, between all of the, they make babies, and so they just multiply, yeah, and populate that entire hive.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I didn't realize I could grow up to be a bee Pokemon master. That's really
yes.
Cool. Thank you.
And so we need somebody in East Falls to have bees, so we can keep the whole, we can keep a 1.5 mile radius here, and we can keep the area on Kelly Drive pesticide free.
Yeah, bees can fly. Bees can go 4 miles, so it would be 2 miles in each direction. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm about a mile. Yeah, because they do. They can fly up to 4 miles. You know, so that's 2 miles each way round trip for to find honey.
Yeah. So Lizette's bees are in my garden in East Falls.
You're welcome.
But you can still raise bees in East Falls. Okay, anyone else have a question for anyone?
I know we gotta do chickens.
All right, I have a question. Out front here, so this is concrete outside. I want to have some sort of planters, and I would love suggestions because I want to create a little outside intrigue for the Falzer Club. So I'm looking for planters and whether you have suggestions for, I wanted to have vegetables where people who walk by can just take some tomatoes, but I don't know whether I have the ability to do all the maintenance every day on vegetables. But I thought at least if you have recommendations for potted plants, and these would be pretty big planters, of what you would think would be the best, sort of hardiest in those planters outside.
Is it full sun out there? Yeah. What are the light conditions? We're east facing? I think we're east facing.
Southish.
Okay.
It's pretty full sun out front for the majority of the day.
Trees, right? There weren't any trees. Not that I saw. No.
Did I stump the panel?
Well, I mean, if it's full sun, you have a lot of opportunity for color. And I like to tell folks that get plants from me that you could grow everything that I grow, can grow in pots. It's just that a lot of the drought resistant ones, like Liatris, for example, will grow deep root systems 10 feet or more into the ground. So month-long stretch without rain and hot weather doesn't really affect it. But in a pot, it's limited to how deep the pot is. So the deeper the pot, the less you'll have to water. But you'll pretty much always have to water if you grow something in a pot. But if it's full sun, which I think it is, I mean, it just unlimited color opportunities for sure. And yeah, there's something for every season, from the golden ragwort just started to bloom for me in my garden. Midsummer, especially July 4th, is my full sun meadow, peak time. And then September, October, once you get into the goldenrods and the asters, also another explosion of color. So I think there'd be a lot of options for full sun, especially in deeper planters, if you could keep up with watering them in the summer. And then the winter, you don't have to worry about them. I have a lot of things grown in pots in my property that, I water them with the other plants in pots, but wintertime, I just leave them out where they are, covered with snow. It doesn't matter. But it's just the summertime, you really have to keep an eye on them.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have questions? No questions? All right. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you so much for being here.
I have one final comment, and that is, as this book title, Doug Tallamy says, Nature's Best Hope, a new approach to conservation that starts in your yard. We all are nature's best hope, that we have the power, no matter if our yard is small or large, we have the power to do something in that yard that's going to help nature. So I hope you're all inspired to do that, because we are nature's best hope and what we can all do together.
Thank you, Judy. So please, before you leave, file the plants so they don't have to carry them back. And sign Paige's list that she has on her lap that she forgot to tell anybody about. And please also, Grace and Judy also have a list about their homestead with beautiful, amazing programs going on. So let's just keep connecting and getting more people involved. Thank you.